Trae. Come on, it's the day with Trae. Trae with Trae. With Trae. Come on, it's the day with Trae. Trae with Trae. With Trae. Come on, it's the day with Trae.
Pump it up, pump it up.
Trae.
Come on, come on.
With Trae.
Pump it up, pump it up.
It's the day with Trae.
This is the day to gain inspiration, to make a positive change in the nation. We're inviting you to partake in conversation, to raise your vibration. It's the day that we will all celebrate all of our peeps that make this thing elevate. Watch the negative fade away, cause it's the day with Trae.
Grand Rising, everyone. Welcome to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I want to welcome you to a terrific Tuesday in the works, getting our week started right. Today, I'm excited. I got Dan Anderson in the building with Seattle Department of Transportation. We're going to be talking about the transportation levy renewal. Don't worry, we're going to give y'all all the information you need to know what we're talking about. And later on in the show, I'm excited because we got Fifth Avenue Theater in the building with Ariel Bradler. She is here to tell us all about the Rising Star Project and their production of Something's Afoot. So y'all, you know, it's definitely going to be a terrific Tuesday indeed. Of course, it is the top of the show though. So you know what that means. It's time for you to participate with us. Go ahead and tag and share the stream with folks who you feel can benefit from a daily dose of dopeness right here on the Day with Trae. And if you can't watch our TV show, we still have you covered because our amazing sound team also has us as a podcast. Anywhere you find your favorite podcast, just go ahead and search for Converge Media Network and the Day with Trae. You'll find us on whichever platform is your favorite. Well, up next, I'm excited because I'm going to be learning right along with y'all. Dan Anderson is in the building as we talk about SDOT and this transportation levy. What's up, Dan?
Morning. Hi, Trae. Thanks for having me. We're really excited to be here to start talking about what Mayor Harrell proposed this week.
Yeah, well, this is always a good place to come and get the people updated and informed. And before we get into it, I got to talk a bit about you because that's how I roll, Dan. You know, what got you into Department of Transportation work?
So I've always been interested in transportation since I was a boy. I grew up in the Portland area and we're a city of bridges. And I remember doing a bridge tour in school when I was a kid. And I just grew to love the work. And then as I went to school, I moved up to Seattle to go to the University of Washington and rode the bus all over the city, bike, walk around the U District. And then I ended up in government. I really found a calling in public service, and it's something that I've just grown to love. So I've worked with the city of Portland, with King County, and now with the city of Seattle for many years. And where my career led me was to do public engagement work and communications. And so that's really been my specialty and focus for many years, and always in transportation. And I never really thought that it would end up being my career, but it has, and I love it.
Well, I gotta tell you, you gotta love it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because this is something that, you know, we used to kind of joke around here at Converge, like, oh, you know, when it comes to, you know, bridges or when it comes to, you know, the roads, nobody gets excited about it. So I love that you're like, no, I've always been interested in it as a young child. And now you get to do this work now. And this is something that I think a lot of people need some information about, Dan. Yeah. So before we get into the renewal, tell us a bit about the transportation levy in and of itself. What is it? What does it mean? And what does it do?
Yeah, absolutely. So the city of Seattle is the steward of the city streets and the bridges, and we have a really large, complex, expensive system that we're maintaining, managing, operating, and building out. We build a lot of projects in Seattle. A lot of folks, a lot of your viewers and listeners probably have experienced some of the construction around town. We also deal with challenging times like the closure of the West Seattle Bridge for 2.5 years. SDOT and the city managed through that repair process and were able to reopen the bridge a few years ago. So really what we're talking about is how we fund all that work and how we pay for it. So the transportation department gets its funding from a lot of different sources, but what's become a really critical source in Seattle is our transportation levy. And that's a property tax levy that property owners pay. It goes to the city transportation budget, and it funds roughly 30% of our annual spending at SDOT. So it's really important to us as far as how we deliver all those goods and services through our projects, our programs, all the maintenance work that we do. It doesn't pay for 100% of all that work, but it's such a large part that it's become really about delivering basic services for everyone in Seattle.
Wow. I mean, this is the kind of stuff too where it's like, you know, people talk about no more taxes, but how do we get things funded if we don't actually pay into these amazing services? So now that's a great foundation, right, for the transportation levy. Now there's a renewal.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure SDOT was excited about this renewal, but tell us about some of the things that it means for Seattleites.
Yeah, and it's interesting to learn a little bit of the history too, like we have on the team that's been developing this proposal. So really, you make a really good point. How do we fund this stuff? How do we pay for it? Seattle's such a growing city. I mean, it's been the fastest growing big city in the U.S. for many years. And we started using this local property tax 18 years ago. So we did one levy called Bridging the Gap. That expired and a new levy was brought forward. That was called the Levy to Move Seattle, and that's the current levy. It expires this year. So the current levy is sunsetting the collection of property taxes at the end of 2024. The projects it's funding will continue, like we're just breaking ground on a big new rapid ride line on East Lake Avenue, for example. We're finishing up Madison Street, as a lot of folks who've been in and around downtown know. Yeah. And what we want to make sure that we do for the public, for small businesses, the community, is provide a renewal opportunity so that that steady, dependable stream of funding doesn't go away, that there's an opportunity for the public and potentially voters to consider it. So what we really looked at was the condition of the whole system and community input. We're very fortunate with our timing because we just wrapped up 2 years through the Seattle Transportation Plan of deep community engagement to understand what folks want. What do they want out of their streets, their sidewalks, their bridges, public plazas, learn about priorities. And then we've started developing a structure for it.
Well, this is really interesting because, you know, I think a lot of people need to understand that there are plenty of opportunities to utilize their voice for the good of their city.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that y'all did an extensive kind of dive, giving folks an opportunity to participate. And, you know, it just makes me go, okay, so what, you know, there might be some specifics here, but I got to ask, like, what does this levy do for Black residents here in Seattle?
So I should start with the high level, which is the proposal Mayor Harrell rolled out on Thursday is a $1.35 billion levy over 8 years. So it would be our largest levy in Seattle. And the spending programs are many. There's a lot of different programs and projects that we're saying would be funded with this levy renewal. Specifically for Black and brown residents in Seattle, we've been making sure that both our input through community engagement, through conversations, has been equitable and really looking at our foundations of race and social justice. And also the outputs, where the money goes. It's really critical because what we know at the city is that there's been a history of disinvestment in communities of color. And Seattle is not exempt, we know that. And despite all the work we've done over the years, we do see historically more money going to more affluent and wider communities. So part of what we're trying to do with these funding sources is to rectify those patterns and to make strides for communities of color. And part of that looks like just using an equity lens to figure out where the work gets done. Taking away old approaches that don't work, like you don't want to be 100% complaint driven, otherwise the people with the loudest voices get the most resources. And so really taking a systemic approach at how we can be equitable and how the money goes out the door, and then looking at projects. One, I was talking with someone on Thursday about this, and they asked me for an example of a project, and I was really proud to say I'd worked on a project in Delridge Way Southwest in South Delridge. And what we did with that project was not only rebuild the street, get better sidewalks, more crosswalks, more beacons so that people can cross the street safely. And then we worked with our partners at King County Metro and created the Rapid Ride H line that gets you from downtown Seattle all the way to Burien through White Center, Delridge. It's a really nice bus experience. And through that community engagement, we talked with folks in Delridge, and they're like, hey, we're not just leaving this neighborhood, we're also traveling within this neighborhood. We want stops at important community locations. And I remember having a conversation with a gentleman who wanted us to install a new crosswalk at the bus stop. He said, I've got to get across the street to get to the bus safely, and you've got to help me get there. And so we did. We added that to the project. And he really represented a lot of folks in the neighborhood. And we were really excited to be able to make those investments. And it was a different kind of process, and the outcomes really spoke for themselves with how people are using the street now.
Well, I think it's important to take innovative approaches anytime you're looking to rectify past harms, because honestly, doing the same thing over and over again only repeats the exact same harms. And the ideas of, complaints, that's something that, I learned through, interviewing so many families that have been displaced. That was a big deal, right? As white folks were really moving into the central area specifically, more and more complaints were happening, right? Unregulated driveways, all these kind of things. And you're like, come on, right? So the ideas of y'all being able to shift is really key, but it also sets a model, I think, for the rest of the nation to follow when we have this divestment that has taken place, like we said, not only in the city of Seattle, but across the country. So this is really exciting. I mean, clearly this renewal, this plan, just rolling out. What are next steps? What can folks look forward to? Yeah,
so we're really excited to launch the proposal on Thursday. We were in Rainier Beach. We had a really great coalition of different community groups and transportation partners come together talking about safe, reliable, connected Seattle and the opportunities that this brings, also talking about how to make sure it keeps living in Seattle as affordable as possible. That's something we're hearing from everybody. And so what's coming next is really, we're wanting to get people information. So we have a website and a community engagement hub set up at seattle.gov/transportation/levy. We have our engagement hubs in 9 languages. We really want to make sure that folks, no matter what language you speak, or if you have an immigrant or refugee community, that you're brought to the table and that we have in-language information for you. So we have all those resources online. We're going to be out in the community tabling at like farmers markets, transit stops like Westlake and Northgate. We're going to continue briefing community-based organizations and just really getting on the ground as much as we can through April 26th. So it's a fairly short time because we just did that 2-year deep engagement. And we also hear from folks, they get tired of being asked the same questions over and over. So we don't want to overextend our welcome in some of these community spaces. And then the mayor will use that input to come up with a final proposal. And where it goes is to the Seattle City Council. So the mayor will propose this to the City Council for consideration. And we're expecting that to happen next month in May. And community conversations again at the council level, probably in May, June. And we're thinking the council could consider this for putting on the ballot June, July.
Wow. Well, thank you for providing that timeline. And also, again, for just having a different approach. It's great to see because transportation is necessary everywhere. And so how we go about it by centering community voice is so key. So thank you so much, Dan, for your interest in this work and for bringing that interest to the city of Seattle at SDOT. You gave us the website and everything. So now people know how to tap in and stay plugged in. Dan, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Y'all, what great information and insight. We're going to continue this great information train right after this short break. Because up next, we got Ariel Gomez Bradler. She's in the building, y'all. We're talking about the Rising Star Project with Fifth Avenue Theater. You don't want to miss this. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Looking for laughs? Looking for love? Fast Talking Figaro has got you covered. Toe-tapping melodies, lively staging, and colorful costumes. Don't miss The Barber of Seville, May 4th through 19th at McCall Hall. Tickets at seattleopera.org.
Africatown Plaza is our latest affordable housing development project. It's 126 units of affordable housing over community commercial space.
It's the first time in my career, and I've been doing this for 10 years, that I was able to design for people who look like me.
Africatown Plaza is a beacon of hope.
Africatown Plaza is a love letter to the community.
Even if you don't love, can we stay? Maybe we could disappear. Even if you don't love, can we stay here? Maybe we could disappear. You on my mind a lot, don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my pocket spot. Yeah, that's babe, need you every day. You seem like the barging down, got my heart no barging in. From the bed to the floor to the couch, might wake the neighbors up. Break you in and break you out. In the end, we gon' make a child. Then we gon' hit the shower. Part 2, we don't need no pause. You miss me, we gon' get touched. You don't need a power shot.
Copy my steel. Face the fact that copy my steel.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I'm really excited because every time I have theater folks in the building, I get super stoked. Ariel is here to join us, and I'm so excited because we're going to be learning about the Rising Star Project. Hi.
Hi.
How are
Thanks
you?
for having us. Good. How are you?
Good. Now, you know, before we get into it, you got a pretty big title over there at Fifth Avenue Theater. Tell us about your role there, what it is, and what you do.
Yeah. So I'm the Director of Education and Engagement over the Fifth, which means that me and my team are responsible for all of the both professional development and student programs, but as well as any of the engagement efforts. So this year, for example, we did the Drag Community Day in relationship with The Little Mermaid. We supported the Khmer Community Day in relationship with Act Theater Company over for Cambodian Rock Band. So we're really deeply building community relationships, and our intention and approach is really to do it as many say, like an inch wide and a mile deep. We want to build those really meaningful reciprocal relationships so that we're building trust, we're building support of individuals who may or may not have a tradition of coming to our theater.
Yeah, well, I feel it as a partner of y'all's. You know, honestly, it's great because, you know, this is what community building looks like. So I love that, an inch wide and a mile deep. That makes a lot of sense, but I also experience it in y'all's approach because intentionality is so key when it comes to that, especially when you're thinking about connecting with young folks in the programs for education and engagement. And one of the things that always blows me away is that people come to Fifth Avenue Theater to see a production, but sometimes they don't understand the depth of what y'all are doing for community engagement. How have you been able to really utilize your role to be intentional about that so people understand that Fifth Avenue Theater is for them?
Yeah, so I grew up really lucky with a tradition of going to performing arts, experiencing performing arts, but I also know that that's not necessarily something everyone gets. So being at the Fifth and having, with also a very rich tradition of excellence in the city, it's really important for me to make sure that everybody feels welcome there. We've really done, again, that intentionality. We've done a lot of work in ensuring that folks can arrive as they are to the theater, can experience the theater in the way that they are going to experience it, and try and break down some of those rules or walls that people both that exist and also people perceive as existing so that they don't feel as comfortable. So that is really my work in the institution in collaboration with my colleagues and my team, is to really identify times where we can welcome community and where we can both, whether it be through free tickets or through these types of events, and especially with youth, making sure that they have an understanding of how they advocate for themselves in space, especially if they're budding theater artists. This is not an easy career sometimes, and so being able to advocate for yourself, identify areas where you want to push yourself and areas where you need to go, nope, that's not for me. You know, this is really what my team is invested in, and making it a really healthy ecosystem for those students to enter into.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah. I know for me, representation was key as I saw myself as a young thespian and growing my kind of acting career over the years. It was seeing people who looked like me on that stage. And so I really appreciate Fifth Avenue Theater's commitment to that as well, because it's showcasing the amazing talent that we have here. Y'all do a great job of it. So this is exciting. The Rising Star Project. Tell us more about this amazing project.
Yeah, this is a one-of-a-kind program. It is a program that is intended to support professional mentorship for theater artists in all tracks, and it's for ages 14 through 19. Any student in Washington State is eligible to participate. It is a tuition-free program, which is intentional. We want to make sure that the only barrier to participating is genuinely an investment of time, because theater does come with an investment of time. So we will still even work with those students of like, how can we make this fit for your commitments, whether they be family or school. So students participate, as I mentioned, in every single track. We have students not only performing as cast members, but orchestra members. We have students backstage in all areas of technical theater that we are able to have them in. We have students who are participating in the administrative staff. So we have PR, social media, graphic design students who worked on several of the pieces, the postcards that got sent out, the posters that we have available for students. So we really work hard to make sure, and then of course our creative team. So we have stage managers, of course, I forgot that. Stage managers, directors, music directors, we have them in every single area, but they are always paired with a professional working mentor. So someone who is in our industry, working in some capacity in that field. And so they get to have an incredible resource of, well, what happens when it's outside of an education? Is this normal for this? And we, in every way possible, try and model the professional process. So as I explained, like, actors who are coming into our program, after they audition, they'll receive an initial offer, and then they will also sign a contract as a participation, which is something that we want to model. We want to get them used to reading a contract. What are we asking you to do? And that is throughout the experience. The stage management team is shown how to build out spreadsheets for tracking the various things that they have to track. So it's not just, as I said, you're not just learning the theater skill, you're also learning how to use Excel, which is a very important experience. So yeah, it's an incredible program. When the students are done, the culminating event of this is that they actually get to perform one of our shows on our stage using the costumes that what we call the varsity team got to use. So for those who were able to see some things afoot with our incredible group of professionals in that space, these students are replicating that exact same process, and they'll be putting that show up this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday using, again, exactly the same set, props, everything. It's incredible.
Well, this is really exciting because when you talk about having, professionals pair with students, that is, I feel like it's one of the best environments to learn in, because you get to actually understand how it's done in the professional realm, but you also get to bring your flair to it. And I am so grateful that I got opportunities like this. I didn't know this program probably didn't exist when I was, we don't want to go there. But at the end of the day, having the opportunity to kind of open my eyes to what was possible was so key to me being where I am today, right? And so when I think about some of those folks that really poured into me and gave me those opportunities, or, hey, I'm a bet on you, we're going to put you up for this role. We're going to let you do this thing. I mean, I got to stage manage, a Raisin in the Sun at a professional theater when I was a senior in high school. And it really changed my mind in terms of how exciting it was to be a part of that, the background of the team that was putting theater on. But without that opportunity, I may have just only had what I experienced as an actor on stage. So it's really beautiful that y'all are doing this and pouring in. What are some of that response that the students are having by being able to be in this phenomenal experience?
Yeah, so we assess the students periodically throughout the process. They do a very early on assessment, a midway through assessment, and then at the end of the project, we ask them to do another. And it's all self-assessment. How did you feel coming in? What are skills that you feel like you gained? And we absolutely see students who maybe they came in on a specific track, and that's not necessarily the track they wanted to do, but they saw this other thing, and so they're going to next year try and apply for that thing because they want to know more about it. Students who came in and were again on another track, but really connected with a mentor on a different track, and that mentor sent them into a completely different career path, which they never expected to go into. And then we have students who come in and they're pretty sure that this is what they want to do, and they're like, yep, nope, this is it. If this is the professional experience, I want this for my life in every way I can be. So I do know that this program provides an incredible amount of growth. It is a process. When we're in theater, it is a process of a lot of self-reflection, knowing how far to push yourself, knowing how much you want to achieve, and really setting your own self-paced goals in that way, because it's not always a straightforward path. And so what we want in this process is to demystify some of that a little bit. Like, here are the skills that people are going to ask you to have when you go into these careers in the future.
Yeah, that's important. And then, of course, I mean, we got the logistics. I mean, you know, when does the program open? What is the length of time? What does that commitment look like for the folks who are involved in the project?
Yeah, so for students, we opened applications in early September. All of our students who went through audition process or interviews, every student goes through either an audition or an interview regardless of the track. So those interviews and auditions took place between October and November. We announced the cast in late December, early January, and then they began rehearsals at the very end of February. Wow. So as I mentioned, students are participating, especially the tracks that are there a lot, so cast and our creative team. Those students are participating after their school hours. So in many instances, students are starting somewhere between 6:30 and 7:30 in the morning, and they don't leave our building until between 9 and 9:30 at night. So they're investing about 30 to 35 hours of their own time in commitment of this process to get this show up and running. And it's just absolutely incredible to watch them. It's incredible to watch them grow. It's incredible to see the finished product and know like where they started and where they're at now. But yeah, it is dependent on their commitment and time investment, and the families that support them as well, who get them to the theater or figure out how to make sure they've got meals and all of those things. So it's truly, it exemplifies that team effort of theater that is so necessary for us to do anything in a meaningful way. But it's incredible when it is students and families who are coming to us and we're sort of building that out together.
Well, you know, I appreciate this so much because I think you have to have stuff like this in order to open the doors. But I also think it's an opportunity to build relationship. Yes. And for some young people, you know, finding someone that they can trust, build relationship with in terms of mentorship or anything else. Like, hey, I'm just not sure. Maybe another ear, maybe a voice of wisdom may help me in this regard. That is a great thing that y'all are setting students up for success in that regard. So thank you for the work that you're doing there. You know, I get excited about opportunities like this because I just think about how I just would have swam in those waters so deeply as a young person. Of course, if folks are wanting to get plugged in and come and see this amazing performance, they're doing Something's Afoot, which is a fun one, right? It is a fun one for them to do. Look right there. Let folks know how they stay connected with Fifth Ave and how they show up.
Thanks. So yes, you'll find the Rising Star Project at fifthavenue.org. That's 5thavenue.org. And performances are happening this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So please check us out.
Oh, absolutely. Y'all heard it here. I'm going to be wrapping up all of this magnificence right after this short break. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Hello, welcome to Elite Insights with Carlos Imani. We're looking to offer an in-depth look at event production industry through the lens of client experiences and joint successes. The podcast will emphasize guest interviews, focusing on client, discussing their fields, and reflecting on their collaboration with Elite Collective. Again, you're with Elite Insights. Carlos Imani here. I'll see you guys in a few.
Looking for laughs? Looking for love? Fast-talking Figaro has got you covered. Toe-tapping melodies, lively staging, and colorful costumes. Don't miss The Barber of Seville, May 4th through 19th at McCall Hall. Tickets at seattleopera.org.
What's up, everybody? Trae Holiday here with a special announcement. Something sexy for the city is coming to our town, Tacoma Dome, May 3rd. You want to get your tickets today because you want to see Ashanti, Monica, Maya, Kiki Wyatt, and Anne Marie. Y'all, I have the pleasure of emceeing this phenomenal concert. Join me and get your tickets today for an epic performance from these R&B divas. Welcome back, everyone, to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. Wow, what a terrific Tuesday. Huge shout out to my guest, Dan Anderson with SDOT, giving us some information and the details we need on this transportation levy renewal. And huge shout out to Ariel for being here, because honestly, this is something that's exciting for me when I think about what Fifth Ave is doing with the Rising Star Project. Y'all can actually see their phenomenal work. Something's afoot. Make sure you participate, get your tickets. This is something where, you know, you want those young folks to feel the love from the audience, so you can actually tap in with this amazing opportunity. And I want to thank both of them because the work they're doing is necessary, and it's also a great way for you to be inspired as much as I was, because no matter what it is you're doing, when you bring your passion into your work and you're connecting it with some form of community, honestly, we are all better for it. So make sure y'all find your way to be a part of the solution, as they have shown you that they are here today. And for me, y'all, until tomorrow at 11 a.m., peace. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.